So, today we are going to continue our discussion on the topic of cells, and you must remember that we were talking about the prokaryotes, the eukaryotes, the type of cells that are found in plants and animals, the types of organelles that we can see in different parts of plants and animal cells. So there's a lot of sound in the background.
My background.
Yeah, your background. There's a lot of sound. Okay, now it's fine. So in the previous lesson, I told you that we would be discussing about the organelles, and let's refresh our concept. We said that the organelles are compartments of the cells, just like the organs of our body, and to their function is to divide the labor, to divide the function. Like different parts of body, different parts of cells perform different functions. They perform different functions because they have different kind of duties. And overall duty of a cell is divided into these organelles. Every organelle has particular thing. Someone can can you guess what organelle is called as the powerhouse?
Mitochondria.
Mitochondria. And there are many other duties. So we would be discussing every different function of the organelles. So for starters, you remember that we talked about the cell membrane, we talked about the cell wall, and then we now have some other functions of the cells. So now over here in our book, we have several things about the cells that we can discuss, especially when it comes to the diagrams or diagrammatic identifications, because it is important to know that there are many questions in the CIEs in which we are supposed to be guessing the different parts of the cell on the basis of the diagrams. On the basis of the diagrams, we are supposed to be guessing the part of the cell. So let's have a look here. I told you, I told you there are some common things between the animals and plant cells, but you can see over here that they are mentioning those common things here. The different thing compared to plant cells are mentioned above, and the plants possess different things compared to animal cells, which are mentioned below. So our study style for this topic would be, we would be consulting this picture more, telling I would be telling you many things about different organelles, but we would note it down on the book. So um, we may get a detailed idea about the cell, as well as we don't have to waste time in writing all the stuff. So let's start talking about the cells first. So first of all, this look at this particular cell. This particular cell is an animal cell, and what are the identifications that that would help us in identifying this particular cell as the animal cell? What are those
First of all is
identifications?
the shape. It's an
Shape.
irregular shape. Um,
Hmm.
it doesn't have what do you call it? Chloroplasts.
Hmm.
And
Good.
also, because in plant cells, the vacuole is the biggest organelle.
Hmm.
In
Hmm.
this cell, the nucleus is the biggest organelle, not the vacuole.
Good. Hmm. Okay. Now, in the previous picture as well as in this picture, you can see that they are showing the vacuole. So when I was preparing the lesson, I was planning to tell you that there can be a chance that they would show you the vacuole in animal cell. But let's put it apart. Let's discuss the rest of the features first. Then we'll talk about the others later. First of all, we talked about the cytoplasm. We talked about the cytoplasm, some particular reactions occur inside the cytoplasm, and there are you can say cytoplasm is the ground material for the organelles, but there is a slight difference that they are pointing on in this particular picture. And what that is, if you focus here, they are saying that the animal cell cytoplasm is often denser. It is often denser, which means that it is a bit thicker. It may have a high viscosity. It may have a high viscosity. So this particular difference is is the cause of mentioning the cytoplasm so much separately. They are mentioning the cytoplasm, although cytoplasm is very common. It's common between the animal and plant cells, but why they are mentioning it separately, because you can see that it is often denser, and if we see the cytoplasm of the plant cells, it maybe is a less denser. It maybe is less denser. It may has less viscosity, but there is no doubt that the is always same function is always same. Okay, so then the second is the next organelle that we discussed in the previous lesson was the cell wall.
Sorry, there's lots of background noise. I'm just gonna go close the door. Just one sec.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on just a second. So we the next organelle after the cytoplasm, another organelle that we discussed was the cell wall. So let's see what about the cell wall they are telling us. It provides structural support. It often helps in turgidity. And what did I tell you about the turgor pressure or turgidity?
I don't think you mentioned that.
I did mention the turgor pressure. Basically, the turgor pressure is it causes the plant it causes the plant cell to get tighten. It causes the plant cell to stretch. Why? Because see, the plant cell takes in water. It takes in water, a lot of water it can take in.
Yeah.
Still, it does not burst. The reason of not bursting is that the water, when it gets into the cell wall is so hard structure, the cell wall is so strong a structure because of cellulose that it it bears or it tolerates all that pressure that the water is applying. So from all sides the water applies the pressure. From all
Yeah.
sides, the water applies the pressure, and this pressure is called as Thurger pressure. This
Yeah.
pressure is called as Thurger pressure. It basically causes the plant cell to become swollen. It is so much high pressure that even it can change the shape of the cell wall a little. Consider what kind of pressure it would be. It changes the shape of the cell wall, which we said last time that the cell wall does not change the shape. The cell wall does not change the shape, but the water pressure is so much from inside that the cell swells, and a swollen plant cell because of water, obviously because of water, because of the pressure, a swollen plant cell is supposed to be called as turgid. So the turgor pressure is the pressure exerted by water, and the turgid cell is the one which is under the turgor pressure. It is under the turgor pressure. Did you understand this?
Yeah.
So
Can
this
you
is
write it on the Jamboard? Because I don't think I'll have access to the annotations that you're making.
all right, but okay, I can write down because this lesson is recording, so I was not worried about it. Okay, so we can just mention about the differences between different organelles over here. Okay, so about the cell wall, I told you in the previous lesson, I can mention, yes, this is the Turger pressure, which I mentioned over here, that it is the pressure exerted by the water.
Okay.
And you understood about the turgid cell?
Sorry, say that again.
Did you get the idea about a turgid cell?
Yeah.
Turgid cell.
So
Okay.
basically,
Turgid
it's
cell.
so turgidity is the force exerted by the water from inside, and then the turgid means like the swollen or a
Swollen
hard
cell.
cell.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So now, the next thing that we are about to discuss, we were discussing the nucleus and we were done about it. We were only mentioning that it contains the nuclear pores, envelope, nucleoplasm, nucleolus, and we also did mention that on the inside it has chromatin material. Everything was discussed. Moving ahead, the next organelle that we have as a common organelle, we have the cytoplasm, ribosomes, and mitochondria. So, cytoplasm we have discussed. So, let's begin about the ribosome. Okay, about the ribosomes, these are the tiniest particles. These are the tiniest particles of the of any cell, and they are common in all life forms. It is quite strange that there is no distinction between the eukaryotic ribosome. You can say that all life forms possess it, whether they are prokaryotes or maybe they are eukaryotes. All life forms possess the ribosomes. One thing about the ribosomes, I would tell you that they are present next to nucleus, and the most important thing is their function. Their function is one of the body's most vital function. Like, okay, can you name one of the most important molecules of our body? Not water. Other than that, which one is the most important molecule for our body?
Blood.
Blood is
Blood?
not a molecule. Blood is a tissue.
Um, I'm not sure.
Okay, let me give you the options. I already exempted water, so I can say lipids, proteins, carbohydrates. Out of these three, which one is more important?
Lipids,
One of the
fats and oils.
one of the most important molecules of our body. You can say that they are. You can say we are overall proteins. Like human or any other organism is basically a protein. It's basically a protein. Every type of organism that you ever think about, it is primarily made of proteins. And the function of the ribosome is to synthesize the proteins. Ribosomes synthesize or make the proteins. They create the proteins. So you can simply say that they are performing one of the body's most vitally important function. We cannot even imagine. Do you know many people are suffering from the diseases which are genetical diseases, which means that they are basically suffering with some situation or condition since birth, and it has been given to them by their parents. So such a disease is called as a genetical disease. You know about it?
Yeah,
Hmm. So a disease in genes, you know what happens in the genetical disease? In a genetical disease, one of our protein malfunctions. One of our protein malfunctions, basically, what does it mean? That our protein is not performing properly. Our proteins, one of our proteins, one of the hundreds, thousands of the proteins in our body are not functioning properly. So it means that if only one protein does not function properly, our body start acting strangely. Like suppose there is a disease called as diabetes.
yeah,
The diabetes is one of the most common problem in overall in the world overall. Now the diabetes is the is caused by, mostly it is caused by the insulin problem. And you know what is insulin?
yeah,
Insulin is a protein.
yeah.
So overall, you can just simply guess what would happen when many of the proteins would not be performing properly in our bodies. Okay, so this is about the ribosomes. They synthesize the proteins, and these proteins, these proteins can work inside the cell for intracellular use as well as for body usage. Whatever is the use, every time we suppose that a protein is made, it is because of the ribosomes. That is why it is most important thing. So and this is the reason why the ribosomes are present in all life forms. They are present in all life forms. This is the reason. Okay, next. Next is the mitochondria. Okay, we just had an idea about the mitochondria a few minutes ago. I said that mitochondria is supposed to be called as the powerhouse of a cell. So,
Yeah.
what is the meaning of it? Basically, mitochondria is large organelle. Like in size, it is a large organelle. You can suppose that after the nucleus, it is one of the most largest organelles out after the nucleus, and this organelle is basically responsible. It is a sausage shape, sausage shaped. Have you ever seen a hot dog?
Yes, it's
The
basically shaped like
mitochondria
that.
are mostly hot dog or the things like that are called as sausages, and the mitochondria are shaped like that. And the function of this, they perform uh, a universal process, a process. Universal process mean that this process exists in many other organisms as well. This process called as respiration. And what is respiration?
I don't know the exact definition of respiration.
Anything you know.
Um, the like when you breathe in oxygen and then you breathe out uh, carbon dioxide, and what goes on in the lungs is
Okay,
respiration.
according to your understanding, you are 100% right, but that's gonna change. You have to change one of the most important concept of uh, our junior classes. In our junior classes, we are supposed to be knowing that respiration is just like the breathing.
Yeah,
The respiration is mostly misunderstood, mostly misunderstood with breathing, with breathing. It is one of the biggest misconception that bothers the student every time. Now, from now on, try try to forget the link between the breathing and respiration. There is nothing like the respiration and breathing. Breathing is a totally separate process. You know, why do we do breathing? We do the breathing to move the air into and out of our lungs.
in and out of
That
the
is
cells as
breathing.
well.
Sorry, what did you say?
No, I just said the movement from into and out of the cells as well, maybe, is breathing.
No, 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 no. It's just movement of air into and out of our lungs.
Okay,
No more than that, no less than that. It's that
okay.
movement. Okay. Now, the what is respiration? Remember, respiration is a process in which the cell breaks down breaks down the high energy molecules to extract energy. To extract energy. It simply means that whenever you are talking about the respiration, it means that high energy molecules would be broken down into their components Suppose this is a high energy molecule and you break it down, you digest this molecule into low energy compounds, and the energy released during this process, you use that energy. This phenomena of energy production, this phenomena of energy production is called as respiration. Always remember the respiration has nothing to do with the breathing. That is why I'm constantly emphasizing on the point that, and I ask this from every student of mine, that try forgetting that you were told that the respiration is as same as breathing. No, it is not as same as breathing. Next, next is the organelle that we are going to discuss is the vacuole. Okay, now about the vacuole, it is very important to mention that the vacuole is the largest central organelle of a plant cell and is permanent. And is permanent. But in animal cell, there are one to many small vacuoles temporarily existing. Like you can simply say that animal cells can have the vacuole or may have the vacuole or maybe not. That is the concept of the vacuole.
Okay.
So in the animal cell, maybe I would tell you that what is the function of the vacuole in the animal cell, but let's first talk about the function of the vacuole in plant cells. So first of all, let's talk about the plant vacuoles. The plant vacuoles, the plant vacuoles are basically, mm, as I have told you, they are the largest and they are central. Most of the function of the plant vacuole is storage based. And what do they store? They often store the water and salt, which are collectively called as sap or cell sap. Second, second function or other types of storage a vacuole can do is the storage of food, especially the starch. Like let's suppose, let me tell you that in potato, okay, uh, where do we collect the potato from the plants? And from underground or from the branches?
Underground.
From underground. We collect the potato from underground. In every underground storage compound, the plants always store the starch. The plants
Oh, like
always store the starch.
carrots as well,
Yes,
onions.
carrot, onions, radishes, these are filled with the starch. Yes, they can be the turnip. They can be of different tastes depending on the plant, but always the underground things are filled with the starch.
Okay.
Okay, so The plant can store the starch in the vacuoles. Similarly, another thing that vacuoles can perform is the enzymatic activity. Enzymatic, or you can just simply say digestive activity. Like they can break anything. In some of the plant cells, they can kill the bacteria, they can digest the carbohydrates or lipids into smaller particles. So these can also be extracted from the plant vacuoles. And remember that they give the mechanical support to cell. And that I have already told you. How do they provide the mechanical support? They fill themselves up with water, themselves up with water, and push the cell wall, generate turgor pressure, turgor pressure, and help the plant, help the cell and the plant mechanically. Okay, mechanical help to the cell, that we can understand, that the water is helping the cell maintain its shape. But how this water is helping the plant overall? How this turgor pressure is helping the plant overall?
By helping it store water so that it can store more water,
And
basically.
okay, yes, prevents from dehydration, you can say, yes. But I'm talking about mechanical support. See, now try to understand. Let's suppose that these are different plant cells present against each other. Different plant cells present against each other. If you focus, these plant cells are at a bit distance from each other.
So if they have
Once
lots of
you
water
fill
than
up the
them,
water,
they will become swollen and then fill in the
they
gaps.
would be, yes, they would be filling the gaps, leading to plants upright posture. Have you seen many plants which are not watered for a long time? They become flaccid. They cannot maintain their
Shriveled.
posture.
The yeah,
The
yeah.
reason, yes.
The reason is that they don't have enough
So those
water.
plants, they don't have enough water. Their cells are not swollen. So simply they are not able to push against each other, maintaining the plant's posture, especially non-woody stems. You can non-woody. Non-woody means that very very thin stems. Non-woody. So these are basically very important in this way. So just imagine that they are acting like our bones. They are acting like our skeletons. So this is how the vacuole is most important. Let's talk about the animal vacuoles. Now, animal vacuoles are also, they don't even perform any, no mechanical support. They don't give the mechanical support. Then they do, like they are there for storage. Yes, they can store water, and they can store the food. And yes, they can store enzymes. They can store enzymes to perform digestive activity. Enzymes to perform digestive activity. So, yes, you can find them, but once they are done with their purpose, they are finished. They are no more required, they would be removed. That is why we often say that animals don't have any uh, animals don't have any vacuum. Once their purpose is served, they would be removed. That is why they are often not found. Any problem?
Okay. No.
Next. Next, we can find in a plant cell the chloroplast. The thing that makes a plant, chloroplast. Now, the chloroplast is often thought to be very important for a process,
For photosynthesis.
vitally important for life, for photosynthesis. But remember, there is a very narrow line with which we can do a big mistake. The actual thing, the actual requirement for photosynthesis is the chlorophyll, not the chloroplast. Chloroplast
Because
is an
chlorophyll is
organelle.
the green pigment inside, right?
Yes, chloroplast is an organelle clustered with chlorophyll. Oh, excuse me. So basically, it is clustered with chlorophyll, which actually means that the chlorophyll is the molecule. If it is not present in chloroplast, then the chloroplast is nothing. Even the chloroplast cannot perform its activities once the chlorophyll is absent. And you know that this chlorophyll, obviously, the chloroplast is an organelle, and you know that it is double membrane bounded. It has two membranes around it. Let me tell you what other organelles are double membraned. The mitochondria, it is also double membraned. It is also double membrane bounded. Then the nucleus, the nuclear membrane or nuclear envelope, it's the double membrane. Let me tell you another very strange thing about the mitochondria that would, like, we know that the nucleus contains the DNA. Do we?
Sorry, say that again.
We know that the nucleus contains the DNA, the chromatin
Yeah.
material, the DNA. Do we know that?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes.
But there are other organelles that also contain the DNA. The mitochondria possess its own DNA, own ribosome, own RNA, which is another molecule, own ribosomes, and own proteins. You can say that mitochondria is a cell within a cell. These all things we can find in a cell that the mitochondria also possesses. So yes, mitochondria, you know that mitochondria is supposed to be called as a self-sustaining organelle. It is also called as self-replicating. Self-replicating. If the mitochondria is required more than its capacity, it can divide by itself. It can multiply by itself. So you can simply say that it is one of the most fascinating organelle. Coming to the chloroplast, again, the chloroplast is it possesses own DNA, RNA, ribosomes, and proteins, and it is also self-replicating. And it is even more, you can say, fascinating organelle because the mitochondria needs you can say resources from outside. The chloroplast needs very limited resources from outside. It is self-dependent, most self-dependent organelle, but the mitochondria is not. It is not most self-dependent. It depends on the outside environment. So chloroplast, it is spindle shaped. You know about the spindle?
No, I don't know what
Spindle
a
is
spindle is.
like the shape of our eye looking from outside. If you see a person's eye, it is often spindle shaped.
Okay.
So it is spindle shaped, and you can also find the lipid stored in the form of droplets. It can store the lipids as well as starch. It can store the starch in itself. So very fascinating organelle. And although you can say that you can see there is no particular inside structure that is discussed here, but yes, the other parts are all discussed, and we can say that what are the functions and what is most fascinating thing. Sometimes in the MCQ paper, it is asked that what are the similarities between chloroplast and mitochondria. So can you name the similarities between chloroplast and mitochondria?
Between the mitochondria and the chloroplast.
Chloroplast. Hmm.
Um, so the differences would be, so first of all, they're both found in the plant cell, which is a similarity. The
Hmm.
chloroplast is absent in the animal cell, but the mitochondria is found in both.
Mm, good.
Mitochondria is used for respiration, and chloroplast is the site for photosynthesis.
So that would be the difference.
Yeah.
Any other
Uh,
similarity?
the shape, maybe.
What about the membrane structure? Membrane is double in both of them. I told you a few minutes ago that there are double membrane around the mitochondria and chloroplast, even in the nucleus. You remember?
Yeah.
Another is they have their own DNA, they have their own RNA, own ribosomes. Another similarity is that they are self-replicating. They can replicate by themselves. That is another similarity. The difference, obviously, the difference is that the chloroplast is only found in plant cells. There is another difference between the chloroplast and mitochondria, and that is the shape. The mitochondria is sausage shaped, while the chloroplast is spindle shaped. Another similarity that you would find, another difference that you would find is their basic functions. The function of the mitochondria is respiration, and that of the chloroplast is the photosynthesis. So these are Why did I ask about the similarities between mitochondria or maybe differences between the mitochondria and chloroplast? Because there are the similarities and differences that exist. These are the similarities and differences that actually exist. Remember that no other organelles are having these kinds of similarities and differences between each other. So that is why we often uh, we often compare them. Sometime, you know, okay, if someone asks that compare the structure of chloroplast and mitochondria, what would you do in the exam? How would you write it? You have to compare.
So how many like marks would you give it, for example?
Suppose 3 marks.
Okay, so 3 points. So I would write the first point. The mitochondria is present in both animal and plant cells, while the
Mhm.
chloroplast is only present in the plant cell. Second
Okay.
point, mitochondria is used for respiration, and then
Mm.
final point, while while chloroplast is used for photosynthesis, is the site for photosynthesis. Those are the 3 points.
Okay. Now remember that this is a exam tip. I'm also going to show you some words, but we will be doing those things when we would start actual practice. Suppose someone asks you to differentiate. Differentiate obviously means that you are going to mention differences. Someone asks you to compare. Compare is a word that means both similarities and differences. So, what did you do there? You only mentioned the differences. In the language of CIEs, you have to be very well aware of many words that must be understood to successfully acquire the marks. Suppose, let me tell you a very important thing with respect to uh, exams. Just look at this. You got this document?
Yeah, I have it open. Is this the
Hmm.
syllabus?
Just yes, syllabus
Okay,
document.
yeah, yeah, I have this open.
At almost 56th page, you can find out these command words, and we will be going through these words. But let's have a brief discussion. Just look at this. Identify, comment on similarities and or differences. Then the, that's all. They have not mentioned differentiate here. But remember, you can find the questions with the word differentiate in the past papers. Maybe old past papers because this is the syllabus for 3, 4, and 5. So, still, you see, that is where we actually make a difference in our exams. We do not actually understand what the question is saying. Like the word describe and explain, these are the most frequent word that appear in the question paper, and we often are failed to differentiate between these two words. Then sometime they ask us to state, they ask us to suggest, and suggest means that you have to apply knowledge and understanding. So these are few things that we need to that we need to uh, clarify. That is why I suddenly asked that how would you do a question starting with the word compare? So
So,
that was a hint.
is it possible that you write the question and then I'll type out the answer and then you can tell me if whether I would get 3 marks or what I could improve on, for example.
See, the thing you did was without the understanding of the word compare, it was good enough. Why? Because you were covering the 3 points. You were covering the 3 points. What I often ask my students, I say that always try that if they are asking 3 points, try mentioning four. Not more, no more than four, please. That would not be a good
Yeah,
practice. But try mentioning four. Why? See, what happens often that when you sit in the exam, you are a bit panicked. Everyone knows
yeah,
that we panic during the exam. And sometimes when we don't practice properly, and if the question is of 4 marks, we forget one out of all the points that we remember. If you have a practice of writing an extra point, it means that there is a high probability that you will remember at least the required points.
yeah.
So that is one of the most basic practice that I tell my student. And I also say that if you find that you do not have any more space to write, then just stop. You don't have to write anymore. But if you have space, go ahead, write another point. Many students say, okay, much space is left. So, but we have mentioned all the required points. So let it go. No, please no. Mention the points that you remember, at least one more than required. Can you wait for a few seconds? Let the azan. Can you hear the azan?
A bit, yeah. You want to stop for a second?
Okay. Yeah. Can please wait for a few 1 minute most. Okay. So yes, so that was the practice I often tell my students to do. Now, what basically would be our format? We would be doing the questions. After we are done with this chapter, I would be opening a few questions and we'll be trying to do some practice. Um, and the format would be like I would present a question. I give 2 to 3 situations to my student. Number one, which I don't like, is that just think about the answer and tell me. Second, that I mostly like is write down the answer and then narrate me your answer. And the
Okay.
third is which mostly is like some students like and some don't. I don't have any objection in that. That the question would be in front of you. You would write the answer on the Jamboard. So these three formats are there. I can ask any question. The question you can select any option.
Yeah.
All right.
I
The
actually
next
wanted to
thing.
ask
Mm,
you because in my
yes, sure.
physics lesson, he made it
Mhm.
clear how he wants me to write the answers for questions with 3 or more marks. So the
Mhm.
general practice we use is, can you see that? We
Yes, I
use the
can see.
bullet
Yes.
point.
Okay,
So
for
would that
general
work for
practice.
biology or it won't?
Uh, no. If you are talking about the bullet points, I would not prefer,
Okay.
because the bullet points, making the bullets or points or list is strictly forbidden in biology paper. I don't know about the others. I have heard that it is forbidden in most of the papers, but that is up to the teacher. Maybe he is asking you to practice in bullets.
No, he
That
said
is
that
why.
he wants me to, for the physics question, he wants me to write them in bullets. So I was just wondering if it's
Okay.
the same practice for biology.
No, no, no. In biology, since we are required to write in the paragraphs, so I often tell my students, yes, we can count the lines. First line, done. Second line, done. Third line, done. Okay, but uh, we must be writing in the paragraph. Otherwise, it would be like, in my opinion, it would be a bit not recommended, because we have to practice for CIEs, and CIEs we need to practice writing in the paragraphs.
Okay.
Okay, so next, once we are done talking about the cells, now the thing is, we were talking about, let's suppose that general models. Till now, we were talking about the general models of the cells. And by the general models, I mean that these models basically are, uh, you can simply say that these models apply to all the cells, but don't fit to the working of the cells. That is quite strange. Like, understanding, let's suppose you are there in a driving school, and they tell you accelerator, brake, clutch, and this is steering. You are supposed to do this, and that, and you are supposed to start the engine like this. Everything.
Yeah.
Okay, you very successfully, you have practiced the driving. You have got the certificate of a driving school. Come out of the driving school, and a person comes with a hybrid car,
Hmm.
with a hybrid car, and
Yeah.
that hybrid car does not have a keyhole. It would start when you would sit inside and push a button.
Yeah.
First of all, second, when you see down there, there is no clutch.
Yeah.
There is only brake and accelerator. Third, the engine voices, there is no engine voice. Fourth, it has electric system up to 70 or 80 kilometers per hour. It has electric system.
Yeah.
Now, what is the situation? The situation is, you were familiar with the general model, but you were not familiar with the specific thing. The same thing is going to happen with the general and specific models of the cell. Remember that. Okay, can you tell me what is the first cell of our lives?
Like the name.
Yes,
Um.
I
First
believe you
cell of
know,
our,
but you might
the sperm
not
cell.
know it is called that. Nope, zygote. Heard about it?
Yeah.
Hmm. This is the first cell of every person's life. The sperm and eggs, these basically are those cells which are supposed to combine to make the zygote. But
Yeah.
every person's first cell of life is the zygote, and it is the most generalized cell. Most generalized cell. Then it keeps on dividing and dividing and dividing. See how astonishing the life is that the zygote we started from the unicellular life, and at adulthood we have 100 trillion cells. This is how much strange the life is. So it keeps on dividing and dividing and dividing, and 100 trillion cells are made. And the most strange thing that happened is many cells became the red blood cells. Many of them became the sperm cells. Some became our muscle cells. Some turned into brain cells. What is this? Like the life started from a general cell, and now we are filled with a lots and lots types of cells. Why is that? Remember that there is a process in which when our life starts, our general cells begin to turn into specific cells. Specific cells basically are those cells which know what they're supposed to do. But general cells don't. They don't know. They don't know what they're supposed to do, but specific cells do. What happened? What happened between the path of being a general cell to a specific cell that the cells suddenly to started knowing that what do we have to do? Am I a brain cell? Am I a liver cell? I am a red blood cell. I am a muscle cell. What made them determine about their duty? Remember, there is a process called as differentiation. In this process, the cell changes shape, size, number of organelles, and many and uh, genetic data. Cell changes these things. And once the cell changes these things, it becomes a unique cell. Suppose this is a general cell. It undergoes the differentiation, and now it became a cell that we never imagined it would become. We never imagined it would become. You're familiar with this type of cell? This is a neuron,
Yeah.
a brain cell.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened? The differentiation happened. It became a specific cell. So remember that the functions of the body, the functions are only performed, the functions are only performed by the specific cell, by the specific, or you can also say mature cell. Only these cells know how to perform function. And there is a reason for it, you know. The function always dependent upon the structure, always depends upon the structure. Suppose that our hands were not looking like this. Let's say you may have come across a person who does not have all the five fingers.
Yeah.
maybe one more, or maybe one or two less.
Yeah.
Although we don't often ask these type of questions, but if you ask those people, they cannot perform certain activity as well as we can. Persons with the five
Yeah.
fingers can. Why? Because the structure of this thing is most efficient when it is in its proper shape.
Oh.
The structure of neuron. You know why the neuron is the only cell that can act or that can work in the brain? Why? Because the neuron looks like a wire. The wires of electricity, they look like a wire. Why only the sperm cell can perform as a reproductive cell? Why not any other shaped cell? Because it is what it is. It can swim. It can carry the genetic material to anywhere while swimming. Why not the red blood cells kill the germs in our body? What kills the germ in our body?
Antibacterial
Nope. The white blood
or
cells. The
white
defense
blood
of our
cells?
body is white blood cells. Yes. So why not red blood cell? They are so close. They are present together in the blood.
Because the
Why
white
not
blood
white blood
cells'
cell?
function is to protect the body from germs.
But their function could be performed by anyone if it was not dependent upon the structure. The white blood cells have that structure which make the white blood cells able to perform a certain task.
Yeah.
That is why it is important to differentiate, because a general cell is never enough to perform the tasks, but the specific cells are always suitable enough. So if I see, yes, these are a few animal cells you look at which have been specialized. The red blood cell, the muscle cell, the ciliated cell. These ciliated cells are found in our trachea, the windpipe, the brain cell, the neuron. Similarly, in plants, the root hair cell. So we will be discussing about each and every one of them, the root hair cell and the xylem cell. So these cells are very much specific. Let's have a small idea starting from the plant cell. Have you seen the root hairs ever?
Yeah, root hair cell. I haven't seen
The
it,
root
but I've
hairs.
heard of it.
Hmm. If you write on the Google, you can find the root hair cells. Very tiny, very small. And the root hair cells, they are like, these are hairy structures which give an extension to them. Why do they need extension? Suppose that this is a root. You cut the root from the middle, and now you are studying the root in a circle shape. Obviously, when you cut the root from the middle, it would become a circular shape, right?
Yeah.
So, this is one root hair cell. And the root hair cell is specialized for absorption.
Absorption.
Why only root hair cell?
Because
Why
that's
is
the
that the
function.
root
That's
hair
the
cell,
function.
that's the function, but what structural changes are there? That is the main question.
Uh, for
The main
example, the
question to address over. Mhm.
for example the hairs
Please.
are an adaptation to help with the
Mhm.
absorption.
Yes. So we will be discussing in a bit more detail that why Root hair cells are specialized for that purpose, and no other cell can perform this task as efficiently as a root hair cell. Correct?
Yeah.
All right. So we'll be discussing in the next class.